You might be catching us, I don't know, from the living room of the big house where we're meeting in person and having a chance to do our potluck, or you might be catching us virtually on Facebook or YouTube or one of Kathy Hester's channels. We are so excited to have her. Either we are live or you will catch the recording. We're just going to flow with it. Hopefully you can hear us. Hopefully you can see us. And if you can't, go ahead and put some comments in there and we'll try to play with it along the way. But if we've never met before, my name's Elizabeth Fiorentino Williams. I'm one of the group leaders for the Chapel Hill Pod, part of Plant Pure's network and community. And so we are excited to have Kathy Hester join us for this is our September 2023 potluck and demo. She is going to do a great spread for us of plant-based milks with different machines and equipment using different types of oats or nuts or whatever we might find around. So Kathy is a great resource for us, and we are so grateful to call her friends as well. And so her and Cheryl are here joining us live stream. Kathy, thank you so much for being here. We are so grateful. Yay. So good to see you. So good to see you.
I love me some Elizabeth, and I love some plant-based pod. So you guys, we're streaming this live all different places using something new. So it could be a little hinky. So take a deep breath, and we'll just have some fun today. There's people are eating over there. There's some yummy corn chowder happening, and I'm in for that, is all I have to say. So we're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, which is milk makers. So out there, how many of you have some sort of milk maker other than a Vitamix or BloomTech? Got a couple. So you have an almond cow and you have a soy Joyo, because we both talked. Okay. So there's a whole bunch of different things, but there's really three main kind of categories. One is going to be like kind of this bigger quart-ish size that either has heat or doesn't. So for instance, an almond cow does not heat. Soy Joyo, Mio-Mat that I have with me, Soy Bella that I have over to the side. So I have most things here for you guys to look at later if you want to too. So why does it even matter heat versus not heat, right? Because that's everybody's question. Basically, if you're not making soy milk and you're willing to soak nuts, you don't need heat. Soy milk, I love. You can't buy soy milk as much in the store anymore. It's fallen a little out of fashion, right? And everything's about fashion. We're going to talk about sweeteners later too. So I'm ready for you to like come at me with pitchforks and knives to come get me. But here, the bottom line is use whatever your sweetener is to choice, no matter what a recipe says. And you do it to taste. So if you're using one kind of stevia, you might use a quarter teaspoon for this. If you're using another kind of stevia, you might use a tablespoon. And so I think erythritol, which I know I'm not saying right. I'm not great with pronouncing the things. I'm Southern, right? So, and I grew up reading, which is awesome, except for when you're trying to say things out loud. And that has recently fallen out of fashion, right? It all depends on what studies are being done, and we get new information all the time. So if I'm using something you're like, I would never use that, I wholeheartedly support you. So just know that too, because that's usually the big battle that we go through. And I love soy. I know some people feel some people have soy allergies, so that alone is a reason not to use soy. And soy is pretty cheap. Basically, if you get non-GMO or organic soybeans, and I just get, I get a 5 or 10 pound pack, and I've soaked these. So if you can kind of see, let me grab a spoon. And so these are the dried soybeans. Can you guys see those, or you need me to put them in a hand? Okay. And then these are the soaked soybeans. They look kind of like navy beans, don't they? About the same size. And with soybeans, you always want to soak them at least overnight. And at the, well, okay, let me take that. I'll take everything back. There's like a Japanese way of making soy milk and a Chinese way of making soy milk. One doesn't soak their soybeans and then cooks them a certain way, and the others cook them and kind of blend them at the same time. So it's up to you. I always soak mine. So if there's another way you learned, or maybe your own traditions tell you to do it a different way, don't listen to me. And this is how we make soy milk in my house in North Carolina in Durham. So I'm going to go ahead and just strain off this soaking water, because I thought this is the one that's going to take the longest. So I'm going to put it together in the Mia mat, which does heat. Can you make soy milk in the Almond Cow? Yes, you can. And it will be a lot more trouble. So what you're going to do is you would basically blend the soybeans and water together in your Almond Cow. It has a basket. You guys, this we're going to use all these machines, or most of these machines anyhow. So it has a little basket that you put things in. The Soy Bella is also like this. So there's good and bad. It has little measurements so you can put your ingredients in here. Then we jiggle this around and make sure it's closed. If it's not closed, it could come off and the blade can cut it and ruin it. So be careful. That's once it's running, obviously. It's not near the electricity, and I could even touch the blades if I wanted to. So, and then we'll pull this out. You still are going to want to take a spatula and get all the extra liquid that's in here. It seems like it would be magical, and you just lift it up and there's your pulp and hello. But no, you still got a little extra work to do. Then you would take that milk that you've just made. It is not ready to drink until it's cooked. So you can either, again, you can cook your soybeans and then puree them and strain them or whatever, or you can go vice versa. That's up to you and how you like to do it. But it needs to be cooked. It's also going to be unpalatable. And by that, I mean you're going to spit it out. It's kind of like tasting cocoa powder, right? It sounds like a great idea. When you're a kid, you're like, ooh, chocolate. Or have you done, and I will still do this, taken a bite of unsweetened baking chocolate because it looks so good. And you're just like, oh, why did I do that? Right? So it's just not nice. And in fact, if you use the milk maker and you don't like it the way it is, I often will go ahead and put it in the Instant Pot for 10 minutes and cook it on high pressure. So if you find there's still some bitter notes you don't like, you can do that. So with all of these milk makers, so the Mia mat we're going to look at first. It has heat and it has a lot of these settings. So I'm going to put it up here for those watching at home through the hurricane rains, right? And so it has settings for raw milk, cereal milk, soy milk, smoothie, creamy soup, chunky soup, porridge, and cleaning. So let me give you a hint. You do not need to buy something that has a cleaning button if your already bought soy milk maker doesn't have one. So it's like when we go to the Instant Pot and you're like, ooh, the new model has a cake button. You can make cake on manual pressure. You can clean it by just putting more water and a drop of soap and maybe go a little bit, maybe an inch or inch and a half below the max fill line, because it's going to whip up all that stuff, and just run a normal cycle, whatever that, whatever a normal nut milk cycle will be, and that will get a lot of the cleaning started for you. Okay, so, and also in here, and I can't see what you guys are seeing, but right around in here is a line. Can you guys see that line, sort of?
Take your word for it.
Here we go. I'm coming around. You got two right down here. It's hard to see.
Mm-hmm. See the line?
Oh, yeah, now I see it.
Right?
It's a mark.
It's hard to just be behind and go, can you see it? Can you guys? Okay, and so there's two lines. One says 1,100 milliliters, one says 1,300 milliliters. And usually you'll have, some of these we're looking at will have a max fill line or whatever. So here's the trick that you've always wanted to know about using a milk maker. Put your ingredients in first, then fill the water up to the line. If you've gone on Amazon and you've read, everything overflowed, this is dangerous. Well, of course it is, because you went over the max fill line. That doesn't mean accidents won't ever happen or anything like that either. But look, this is a lot. That's a lot of volume I'm adding to 4 cups.
How much is that?
It was a half cup soaked, but with the Mia Mat, the Soy Joya, the ones that have not a basket, but something like this, you can make a richer mixture. So let's say you find, well, Kathy, I made your half cup soy milk and it would not make yogurt. Then I would email you back and go, try 3/4 of a cup and see what happens, right? Because it's all just to see what's going to happen. So the reason I'm making this one first, again, we're going to put it over to the side. It's going to do its cooking. It's going to do all its little business without me, and all I have to do is strain it. And I use fine mesh strainers. Okay, there's a couple of reasons to use fine mesh strainers over nut milk bags. The number one reason for me personally is nut milk bags gross me out. There's always a piece of something caught in there, and I don't care if I'm sterilizing it in my dishwasher. I'm a little germophobic about certain things, and all I can think about is what else is in there that I can't see. So if you are happily using nut milk bags, forget all the things I said, because this is just personal, right? But let's say you want to double strain it. Ta-da! And sometimes, honestly, I'll triple strain some stuff. I'll just do it all at once. I'm going to show you how that works for me. But you want a fine mesh strainer, and like this one, and I'll pass this one around, and I think you guys can get. It's kind of a double strainer all in one. So it already is a fine mesh strainer with a second thing of mesh on it, and then this one came with my Mia Mat.
Jamie Oliver.
So I don't know if you can buy that one, but you can buy one like it. Okay, so we've got my beans in here, and I've got somewhere some clean water. So what is clean water? Again, your definition of clean water. So at home, we have a reverse osmosis. We have well water. We have a UV light, because when they were inspecting our water, there was E. coli and other things. And the guys who we were ended up being friends with lived there and were drinking that water. So it wasn't like this was some abandoned house. They were like, oh my God. Because you don't test your water. I haven't tested my water in 10 years. It's probably about time, right? But you don't know if you have a well. But we also don't have fluoride and a lot of added things in it. So and also, if the power goes off today, we won't have any water at all. So, I was just at Chef AJ's Live Your Best Life conference in Sacramento. Cheryl and I went there. And Dr. Goldhammer was talking. Dr. Goldhammer likes distilled water. This will work with spring water, distilled water, UV'd water that's been reverse osmosisized over at Kathy's house, whatever you want. And you know what? If something was happening, we would use tap water, because we are very lucky in this country to have good, clean water, period. There are countries that they walk miles just to have any kind of water. So that's my guilt trip for the day. I think I'll stop there. But we should all be really happy that we get to drink all the water we want. So if I wanted this to be richer, and by richer, think on a scale of milk. Skim milk to heavy cream. So if I want it to be a little bit, I don't don't know, half and half-ish. I want my material to water ratio to be higher. If I want it to be thinner, if I liked skim milk before I went vegan, somebody must. I was like full whole milk. So that's also why I like soy milk and oat milk a little bit more, because the mouthfeel, soybeans and oats naturally have fat in them. It gives you a richer, rounder mouthfeel. Like I know some of my friends like rice milk. And even back in the day when you could get rice or soy, I find rice very much like skim milk. Now, you could work it where you're adding more rice and getting it closer to 2%, probably 1 or 2%. But I'm going to go ahead and fill it up to that max fill line. If this was new to me and I hadn't done exactly this, I'd still give a little room from the max fill line. Okay, and I'm going to have to come over here and start it, but I'm going to press select, click to soy, and click to start. And then it will let me know. I think I'm off camera.
Yep.
But you guys can still hear me just yapping away. So there's a little plug, and I'll show you guys this on the other side too. And you just get it in there. There's a lot of these are interchangeable. The lights came on. I press select, and it goes through all those things I mentioned until it's right on soy milk, and then I press start. And so it gave me 2 beeps to go, yes, boss, I hear you. I'm going to make some soy milk. And one of the things I like about the Meomat too is I found the cookbook that they give you is really nice. I've talked to the gentleman several times, and he's just been great. They're talking about having replaceable parts, possibly in the future. I'm very excited about that. But like this looks like a real book, right? We've got some pictures, they've got soup recipes, and the whole thing. Now the Meomat and the Almond Cow are both around the 200 to 220, 230 mark. So these are not super inexpensive. And that's why I want you to kind of see a demo of all the different ones and decide if it's for you. And I'll give you a spoiler too. If you're like, I only want to make oat milk, don't buy any of these if you've got a blender. Okay? You don't need it. And I will talk to you before this is over. It probably will be near the end. We're going to make oat milk in a blender. And we're going to talk about some of the different things that we're doing to keep it from being slimy. So these are the smaller milk makers. We'll just look at these a second, and then I'm going to do something in the Almond Cow too. So this is the Nutter, which you've probably heard about. And they sent me one. And this is the second one. And it was a little hard for us to get them to send us the second one. They sent it as a free influencer one. And I'm like, I can't really say how great your product is because you're not sending me one. It took Cheryl how many months to get in touch with the person? Like 2 months?
Oh, for the Nutter?
Yeah.
It was at least 60 days.
And you know how so there's these two, I've got them plugged in here. There's 2 kinds of cords. So this is what the Almond Cow and the Meomat, all of those are on. See the smaller wattage of cord? So it's like, looks like a little Mickey Mouse. And this one looks like I'm going to have some equipment and chop down a tree. Now, maybe it doesn't. It looks that way to me, but I don't think it's that high voltage. But this is the one the Nutter runs on. The ones you can get on Temu, which is kind of like the Chinese site, which I may have gotten this one. They run on that. I find that their motor is smaller. All of the small ones do not tell you what the motor is. If you go to healthyslowcooking.com later, there's a thing about milk makers, and I have like all these crazy details that are not in my brain. And some tell you what the wattage is and some won't. And I emailed the ones then. But, all of these little ones have these little blades. And this is modeled after what a lot of Chinese people have been using in their homes for years because they make soy milk fresh every morning. And all of these too, you can like soak in your soybeans or your almonds, put some water in there, and you can delay it. Like you can delay your instant. So you wake up and you're like, oh, look at that. I have perfect soy milk ready to go. So it just depends. Are you a person who likes to have the freshest, perfect taste every morning? Do you have a family of 8? Or would you rather make 8 cups of something ahead of time? And it goes back and forth. We're going to make some, I love my Arc Mira. And so this is kind of a mystery. I have no idea who makes it. I think it's the best built of the small milk makers. And it's often the least expensive. The Nutter usually runs anywhere from $169 to $189. This runs anywhere. I think the highest it ever got was $119. The lowest I saw it was $63.
What's it called again?
Arc Mira, ARCMIRA. And if you go to Healthy Slow Cooking page, I have links to all these too. So you can, that way you don't have to take notes if you don't want to. And those of you watching live, I will come back and put in any links I talk about or things like that. So this one is heavier insulated, and it just means it's a little quieter. And as you'll see, as some of these things start going, they can be a little loud. They're not as loud as the Ninja. This over here is the Nutrimilk, and we are going to use it too. They sent me one. This one is the high end. This is the one that Chef AJ was talking about. It's $500. So, but it will make nut butters. So you could either do a couple of things. You could make a nut butter, set it aside, and take a couple of teaspoons of that nut butter, put it in your blender, and make milk that way. Or you could use something you already have, like your Vitamix, and make the nut butter. I do find it a little problematic to make nut butter in my Vitamix unless you want to like do a pound of nuts. Like, because if you can't, even in those small cups you can get to put in, it doesn't like to do it. Now I have a smaller Ninja blender, and it has a smaller container, and that works. It has a thing that you turn almost like the Blendtec, and it works better. But if you're a big, like Chef AJ's husband Charles loves peanut butter, so she makes peanut butter a lot. It's a very powerful machine. And there is I didn't bring it, but there's a separate container you can get just for nut butter that doesn't have the spout. That's a little easier to clean. But we're going to make some chocolate walnut milk in it coming up, just in case you needed reason to stay around. Okay. So, and so these little ones, I love this guy. And what I do, and we're going to make samples of this too, is I'm going to do like a cocoa in here. We could do a chai tea. We can do something with like Ticino, which is a caffeine-free coffee beverage. I also did bring some brewed Ticino and brewed cold brew coffee, so we can survey and see what you want to taste. And there's all kinds of things you can do. So when we're talking milks, we've got bananas that we're going to try and see what happens with. I haven't made banana milk before. But for starters, what should we make? What do you guys think? Okay, so this is the almond cow. Let's look at this one. I know it's a lot. That's why I'm trying to group them a little bit. And again, if you want to make oat milk, you can just close your eyes and be like, oh, it's nice that people spend money on these things. Right? Okay, so this comes with this little cup. One of the reasons is it sits this on there. When an almond cow, this is never going to be hot. In the Soy Bella, it gets real hot. So you never it's metal. Don't touch it. I do it all the time. And it's horrible. And so then the blades are here. So people who love their milk maker love it the same way as Blendtec and Vitamix. You know, people want to square off on things. It's what they like to do, I found out. And I'm like, you know, and this has a max and a minimum in here too. So the minimum means you can't run it less. Now, here's the difference with the almond cow because there's no heat in the almond cow. You can literally put your water in here, some stuff in here, and let it go. It's going to still be inside the machine. Since this doesn't heat, it doesn't matter that it's plastic. Because I don't know about you guys, but the first thing I'm like, don't put the plastic in with the metal. Don't put the, you know, I have this like melty fear. But you, so you can make a creamer. So you can still use the same amount of stuff in here. And we can try that. I do find it still splashes out a little bit everywhere and you do have to clean this. Just to lower your expectations a little bit. Which we make. What do I have? We could,
Peanut milk,
which one?
peanuts?
I don't have any peanuts, but let's see. And I don't think I brought that in here either. Let's make. Got some pecans. Let's see how many pecans I have. Pecan milk is so good. Have you guys made pecan milk?
Sounds good.
How many in here have made milk at all?
Oh, good question. You go, ladies.
I got the blue one, it's got 3.
Okay,
Oh, that's the one, Chuck.
and
Yeah, it's really good. And
Which one do you have?
when you go to buy it,
which one do you?
I've got the blue one.
Oh, the Arc Mira.
And the reason why I got that on sale through your website,
Oh, you found okay. Because I was like, is someone else talking about it?
I read labels. As a dietitian, I read labels. And I see all the additives they add to the regular almond milk and the silk milk and all that other stuff. I said, why am I paying for this?
Oh, that's a great question. And Pam?
Yeah.
Okay. So Pam is a dietitian in the audience, and she's saying the reason she got the Arc Mira, and I was like, is somebody else talking about this? But I think I'm the one. I just found it because I was like, the Nutter made me mad, and then I had all these plans of different things to do. So I went off on Amazon, and I also ordered some cheap ones too. One I didn't even bother to show you. It works okay in Canada. If anybody's watching from Canada, milk makers are almost double the price, at least 1.5 the price of what they are here. I don't understand why, but the Soy Bella works great. It's usually the least expensive. I had, at least earlier this year, I hadn't seen the Arc Mira here. So why is a dietitian deciding to make her own milk? Is because of additives. Also, a lot of people who are doing whole food, plant-based, no oil are like, oat milk is awesome. I'm going to get oat milk. So a lot of people, when Cheryl and I took the McDougall 12-day program in July, some friends of ours were like, oh, we're not taking off as much weight. I'm talking to their health specialist. They're drinking Oatly. Oatly has added oil. And even if you look on my YouTube channel, I have 2 ways to make Oatly, an Oatly copycat. One is kind of the way they do it, and I add a little bit of coconut oil. I think it's a teaspoon of coconut oil. The other way is you could add some nuts. And they also use an enzyme, and I always say it wrong. I think it's amylase. Amylase. And so what happens is they put that in with the oats, and you're like, well, there's no added sugar. Well, what happens is it eats the starch and it kind of poops out sugar. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry.
I just wanted to interject that Apple is saying that in Canada, the Arc Mira is almost $200.
Oh my gosh. So Apple, and thanks for watching. I can't see any of the comments, but Cheryl's watching over there. Says the Arc Mirror is $200 in Canada, but like the Meomat and some of the others are like $400 and some dollars. And so it's because of Apple and my other Canadian friends. See, look, Autumn magically. So what it did is it brought it to a boil. It cooked it some enough to get soft, and then it'll beep a really long time to let us know that it's done. But I do love this one because you can make stuff so easy. But just remember, so if there's a little bit of oil in there, there could be some thickeners you don't like. There could be some thickeners you don't care about, but maybe you don't need. So that's a really good reason to make it. here's the other really good reason to make it. So if you're paying like $5 for half a gallon of oat milk, how many oats can you get for $5? Like rolled oats. You can make it. You can make oat milk with steel cut oats or oat groats and different things. We're going to use rolled oats. The reason I use rolled oats is because they're inexpensive. I get mine at Costco right now. They have those Farmers in the Know, sprouted, gluten-free, giant bag. And I think it's like, I'm sure the price has changed since the last time, but I think we got them on sale for like $10. So I bought 3 big bags of them.
Just find the Quaker boxes. Boxes are big.
The big Quaker boxes, that's fine too. Yeah. So, and again, it's not that you can't do it with steel cut oats or you can't do it with oat groats, but your cost goes up basically. So it just depends on what you want to do. In Outrageous Oatmeals, I made it with all the oats. I made it with Scottish oats, which with Scottish oats, they take the oat groats and they grind it between 2 stone mills. You know, like stone ground grits. They make it like that. It gets extra creamy. So I say yes to all the oatmeals.
Couple more comments coming in. Nona in Italy.
Hey, Nona in Italy. Thanks for joining in on the Chapel Hill Plant Pod.
Nona says Oatly Organic doesn't have added oil, but it is very expensive.
Oatly Organic, she's saying, in Italy doesn't have added oil. So if you're in the US or Canada, I would still check the label to make sure.
And also, the Dollar Tree sells a low-fat oat milk with no oil for only $1.25.
So the Dollar Tree sells an organic oat milk with no oil. So you know we're stopping by the Dollar Tree. And there's one around the corner, Elizabeth says. So Elizabeth's in charge of the plant pod. Okay. So inside of here, somewhere, okay, this says a half a cup. It's on the outside. Half a cup, 1 cup, which just means I have to pay less attention to things. And I like that. But honestly, I'm going to tell you have to put exactly an amount, but I'm going to use all of these. And let's see where we go. Now, when you have a little basket like this, that's about 1 cup. When you hold it up to the light, I can see it through the holes where it is. Okay, so then I'm going to have this in here. Sometimes I still have to hold it in my hand. And you take this and you shake through, and it locks. I think I got it. I always end up having to do it this way. And then pull it for real. Okay, and lock and unlock it, because what's going to happen if it unlocks the blade? It could go like catty cornered, the blade could slit this. The other thing is all my almonds are coming out, so what did I do this for to begin with? And that would make me unhappy. All right. Now with this one, or one that we have, we can't put stuff in, then add our water. So I'm going to go a little bit under. I'm also assuming that they probably, you know, went, hey, someone's probably going to put a cup of stuff in, so let's lower the maximum, right? You would hope so. And usually when I make my soy milk like this, I'm off doing something else, living my best life. So it's about 4 quarts, I think. Okay. We'll find out if anything jumps out. I've got it just below the max. And so just like the other one, there's a little plug. You guys see that plug? And that plugs in at the top. And it has the cord part here, and it's got the grown-up cord it uses, which makes me happy. This does a very short time. So this is blue now. Of course, I poured stuff out.
A little bit, just a little bit.
Yay! It's going to change color, and it doesn't go for long. I pressed the cow. It looks like a cow and an almond had a baby. That's what's on the button. It turns kind of white. I'm so kind of thank you. You know when it's coming next, right? Everyone looks a little bit afraid of what it is next. So it's the sort of thing why I like the best. And I think that was the second one. Yep, there we go. There's the next one. It'll turn blue again when it's done, but I have trouble believing. And a lot of times, pecans are a very soft nut. You don't need a milk maker machine to do them. It's kind of like cashews, right? Cashews are really salty, and now it's blue again. And you're just gonna have to believe me. I'm not going to show you. And so one cycle would be good enough for this. For almonds, I would just go ahead and press it and let it go again. All right, so we'll got this guy. So the dust in here is not dirt, it's pecan dust from where I put the pecans in case anybody's wondering. So you can kind of see, and we're gonna put it in here, both to hold that up. And there is gonna be some liquid in there that's gonna escape, and I'll let you guys see this. This is the part you wanna see. Look at that. Now, it's a beautiful fall day. And I'm going to give this so you guys can do samplers. How many people do you have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Just go ahead and do another round. So if anybody online has some questions from any of the places, I think Cheryl can see all the places. That would include the plant pod. It would include my private group.
Who's that with YouTube?
You only see YouTube?
I'm monitoring the Chapel Hill Pod group, so if anybody's over there watching, we've got a few folks live, I know. Feel free to comment and tell us where you're checking in from. That's why.
Okay.
Yep.
I have a question. Are you gonna talk about how to make it thicker, like if you want a creamer?
Yes, we're gonna make a creamer too.
So I buy soy creamer and it's like $6 per quart.
It's really expensive and it
Yeah.
has oil in it.
It has all kinds of stuff in it.
And I will tell you guys too. So I had some Califia pumpkin spice creamer with a little pumpkin spice syrup in my coffee this morning. So nobody feel guilty about anything you've done. Because it's the first day of fall, right?
I also don't like all the packaging with these milks you buy. There's the plastics and.
Okay. So
Yes.
it's just this little film. So here's the thing, the fattier the thing, the little more you might have to scrub. And I'm sorry I can't give you guys any, but I will smell and describe it to you. It's kind of, pecan milk is my favorite. And it's like fall in a glass. So one thing you could do, we could have also put a cinnamon stick in here and a couple of dates and had a beautiful fall beverage. And that would have made a creamer. So I would have used I wouldn't have done it necessarily in here, or I could have used about a half a cup to 3/4 a cup of pecans in the almond cow filter thing. And then I would have put some water in the plastic so that it would be more concentrated. Because again, more to less. You're not a fan of pecan?
It tastes like pecans.
Okay. So, and if you hate pecans, this is not the milk for you because it tastes like you're drinking a pecan.
Yeah.
I love it, but pecan is my favorite nut too. And here's the thing. This is another reason why you make your own milk, because it's very hard to buy pecan milk or pistachio milk or all these other milks that we can make. But yeah, nobody really loves this one. This one will come home and be my fall coffee one. And what I would do with this as a milk is I just put a little bit of maple syrup and a sprinkle of cinnamon and put it in with my cold brew coffee. Cheaper than one trip to Starbucks, even with pecans. And you could do half a cup instead of a cup. Now, I know, I don't think you guys can see much, but like, was there a spray on this head? Sort of. If you have a spray head, you can pretty much just rinse it out. You do not want to get that plug-in at the top wet. That is the only thing we're trying to avoid. And I'm just doing this mostly so I can show you. Like, that pretty much did it for the inside of this. Soy is not that way. Soy adheres and goes, I love you, stainless steel. Where have you been forever? And so you have to scrub. And that's why I will also say, if you like soy milk, it's better to have a milk maker. So can I make it here? Yeah, I could have put my soaked soybeans in here, done this, strained it, put it in another stainless steel pan on the stove, and then boiled it. Or cook it. You're not really boiling it. And then I have to clean all of this really well and clean this other big can. And Dee, who loves her almond cow more than I even love my Mew Mat, is like, I make soy milk all the time. But I find it very time consuming. You would think because of the oil in the nuts that it would adhere, but it really doesn't. And let's look at, I'm going to also just take this out and I'm going to kind of get some of the gunk. There's a lot of gunk. And by gunk, I mean leftover nut pulp. And this pulp you could add to muffins, pancakes, burgers. You could dehydrate it, grind it up a little more, and you'd have some pecan flour. Free pecan flour now that you've made the milk. So I'm just going to rinse this off real good. I do highly recommend that you rinse all this stuff out as soon as you can. You can see how that took like 3 seconds. If I let this sit till the end of the demo, it could dry on and it could take a lot of scrubbing.
Yeah, definitely. It's like a juicer too, right?
Yeah, just like a juicer. That's really good, Elizabeth. All right, let me sit this over here. In here, just like working that soy. And what you'll see too sometimes is a few puffs of smoke come out, which is not really smoke, it's steam. But, okay, so I want to show you, this is what's left in there. Can you guys kind of see that? Absolutely. Yes, Pam.
How long do these milks last? How long do they last?
They're not going to last as long as your standard
Okay.
store-bought. And sometimes it depends on the item you're using. If the one that lasts the least amount of time is oat milk, and that's 3 to 5 days.
Okay.
The reason is just that it's going to get clumpy. You're going to, all these as is are going to separate.
Okay.
So like, and we'll see, actually it's good. Pecan separates the quickest. See how it's already separated down from at the bottom? And so you're going to look at it and you're going to think it's bad because it's going to separate way more than that. It'll be like half and half. And we could have used, and I have some chia seed stabilizer that I thought we'd try a creamer. And so this is just ground chia seeds. I just put them in a spice grinder. And chia seed can help. Oat is, and I've done that even with just making regular oats. It kind of can help. You can also go overboard on the chias, and then all of a sudden you kind of have this like, yeah, adjacent to pudding, which may be even a little worse. But there's still some liquid in here, and you can see I think you can see a little bit in there now. So normally, and this is how we're going to do our other stuff. I just basically you're folding, going around the edges and just trying to get that liquid out. And we're not going to do anything with this now. I could even freeze it just like this and then put it in muffins. It'll get that good pecan flavor.
Rachel online has a question.
Absolutely, Rachel.
Can you freeze the nut milks to preserve them?
Why, yes, you can. So you can take ice cube trays and pour your nut milks in there or your oat milk in there. Oat milk is so easy to make that I just kind of usually don't. But let's say it's happened to me before. I've done a milk demo and I have 80,000 milks and there's two of us. You can freeze them in ice cube trays. Then once they're frozen, put them in a Ziploc. They could be like a plastic Ziploc. I've been using stasher bags, and actually at Costco, still right now, they have some of these plastic Ello, E-L-L-O bags, inexpensive. And even Dr. Stephanie Peacock was saying like silicone and plastic are fine as long as they're not heated. So you use whatever you feel best at. But yeah, we could do that. Also, this pulp, I would, since these are, I think these are next to last of my pecans, there's no way I'd let this go to waste. So, and we're going to do something, well, I didn't bring all the ingredients, but I'm going to tell you how to use the soy pulp.
Nutritional value of eating the nut. Do you get the same nutritional value drinking the milk?
No.
How about the pulp?
If you put them together, you would. But it's highly debated if plant-based milk can be a whole food plant-based thing. So it depends on your personal definition, because you're not getting a whole nut. You're not getting the whole soybean. You're not getting the whole oat, right? You're taking some of the fiber out. Are you using it somewhere else is how I'm thinking of it. So also, like getting exactly the nutritional value of a milk for us as human beings is very impossible. It has to go to a food scientist who tests it. So I couldn't tell you if the Meomat gives you more nutrition than the Almond Cow than the Nutrimilk. There's no way of doing that without like all of these weird scientific alchemy tests that I know nothing of. But in general, most of us don't drink a quart of milk a day. So if you're putting some in your coffee, if you're putting some in a soup or something like that, my opinion is if you don't have a health condition that really says don't do that, that you're okay. So again, and I say this a lot in my life, you're like on Dr. Esselstyn's program so that you don't have to have a heart bypass. You do what Dr. Esselstyn tells you to do, right? If you're seeing Dr. McDougall for some sort of special condition you have, and he tells you you can't have milk, that this isn't going to work for you, don't do it. I'm a recipe developer. I'm not a doctor, and I don't even play one on TV. So we have nothing here. I have nothing. But like, look at everybody else is probably, whoever's watching this now is going, what is that crap? And I'm like, no, but it smells like pecans. And I see your question.
Okay, so you said you use it like in pancakes. So when I've got a pancake recipe, what do I use that instead?
Instead of, I would see, okay, so this one's pretty wet. I would, if it sits around long enough that it's dry, I would just use it as an add-in or part of the flour. This, that looks about like, oh good, you're gonna show it around?
Yeah, if you want. I
Absolutely.
was meaning that you could take it with you.
Oh, yeah,
Someone can take it home.
I'll keep that one. But here, we can show it around too. People want to see. Because it looks like pancake batter. Well, not you, but you can see that it's even getting a little more melted there. So it can kind of depend. I would just do an add-in and see how, in that particular recipe, how far you can go before no return. And if you're not sure and you're like, family's coming over, or this is my favorite pancakes, what I would do is just throw an extra, if you're doing 4 pancakes, about a teaspoon of ground flaxseed. If you're doing like a big batch of pancakes, I put a tablespoon of flaxseed just right on in there. And then if your mixture starts to thicken up faster, I just add some non-dairy milk or water before you're ladling it out. Any other questions yet?
I have a question on the milk. Do you ever use xanthan gum?
I do, and I use Samsung gum. I like Samsung gum. Again, it's another thing that's often demonized. So that's why I have a recipe for like a pumpkin pecan shake. See, is that mine?
No, no.
Okay.
That's me.
Because I was like, I thought it was louder. Okay. So we're Samsung gum. There. Now. It's playing with my heart.
Too close.
So in that, and you can get it on healthyslowcooking.com. I have a strawberry ice creamless shake that Chef AJ loves, and I have a pecan pumpkin shake that's crazy good for the holidays. And so it's both of them are ice creamless. So what you do is in a blender, you blend up some xanthan gum. It was a recipe tester who turned me on to the ground chia seeds to do the same thing because she was not able to have the xanthan gum. And if you've ever gotten a Starbucks Frappuccino and you do not have to raise your hand, I will not shame you publicly. I've had one. What holds all that together is in fact xanthan gum. So if I made this, or you made a Frappuccino without xanthan gum, have you ever made a milkshake where it's kind of ice and then liquid?
Yeah.
And you're like, this is not what I was hoping for. Xanthan gum takes it and holds it all together a little bit better.
I had some.
Oh, okay.
So what's wrong with it?
That's not bad to me. I'm sure somebody's got something bad to say about everything, right? So, but I think with some people with delicate stomachs or stomach issues, that it can cause it. Look, yeah. So here's some xanthan gum. It's just a powder,
And you just add the tiniest bit.
right? And we can make some in the creamer.
Did that go bad?
Did you go bad?
No, does xanthan go?
No, because I've had mine for about 10 years.
Then we're good.
But I think I think one of the reasons gums went out of fashion is because, again, it's something that an organism eats and poops out, and then people get freaked out. It's like, oh, and how many times did Dr. Goldhammer tell us on Chef Age's conference? You have 5 pounds of bacteria and organisms pooping inside your stomach right now. And it's like,
Oh, I just learned all about that. All of the bacteria that we have in our gut. There's more bacteria cells than there are human cells in our body, basically, for our
Yeah.
microbiome.
so I think it's easy to get creeped out by things, but really, we are those things.
They're essential for life. You can't survive without bacteria in your gut.
Right. And,
I got some comments from the folks online.
I bet we have. I'm talking all the controversial things.
Rachel says she's very excited about the nut leftover because she likes using a whole enchilada.
Excellent.
Lainey said, loves making my own milks in my nutter. It's so much cheaper and healthier to make your own.
It is cheaper and it's healthier, I think, especially as far as just not having as much stuff in it. It's also, I hate to even go here, but it seems like there's just been a lot of recalls lately that make me nervous. And it makes me more nervous about buying manufactured things as much as making stuff at home. Also, disclaimer, we're doing the McDougall diet, which means we're cooking at home more already. So I'm using the two to solidify what I'm supposed to do and make better choices. And I don't think anything's wrong with not being perfect. I think it's kind of good. So see, look at the steam. Ooh, right? And I think I just this part. Elizabeth's like, what's she doing up there and how can I help her? I got it.
I know what I'm doing. Look at
You
that.
already left me something perfect.
Yeah, perfect.
So now this is hot. It's really hot. So you don't want to really be touching it. See, like it's still steaming. Now I'm going to show you guys. Then I'm going to show everybody. Look how frothy. I don't know. Now this still has the pulp in it. Doesn't that look yummy? It looks like this product right here. This is the Neomat. Neomat. And so it has like a grinding cylinder and then also it has heat. And so it makes soy milk and soups and things as well. There's no way you guys can see this from Broadway, but I'm doing that. And if you're doing something, you can sneak past you're fine. And frothing is just like yum. Strain her in here, I think. All right, so this is how I still just strain things. Thank you. Like, where did I put that? Okay, so sometimes this is basically triple straining. This has 2 fine mesh strainers. This one came with a Neomat. And I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna fill it up about to the top. At first, everything's just gonna go through and you're gonna be like, why are you waiting for anything? And then, can you guys see the pulp? Right? We want to get as much out of there as we can. So this is how I do milk. And you can't really use a nut milk bag with soy milk unless you scald your hands or you have something like that. So what I usually do, so as I'm taking this one, this just removes the stopped up bottom and lets more milk come through it. And this soy milk pulp is called Okara, and it's gold. And you can't buy it, but you can make it. And I'll tell you one of my favorite things to do. It's great in a burger mix. And talk about nutrients, is adding a lot of fiber, it's adding a lot of protein. In Japan, they don't just throw away the Okara. The Okara is a special deal. And those of you, yeah, we got lots of pulp. Let's get the pulpy pulps.
What kind of medicine do you use for this?
This is soybeans.
Soybean.
So this is soy milk.
Okay.
And to clarify, you said soybeans have to be heated?
Yes. So like, you can't just, before you drink it, okay, there's 2 ways. You could cook the soybeans, then blend them up. Or you can blend up the uncooked soybeans and then cook them. But there's cooking within the process. One is a Japanese method, one is a Chinese method, so you can find which thing you like. I like how it magically does it for me. So that, and all the stuff that's stuck on here, we're gonna have to scrub that off. Now, by scrubbing it off, I don't mean like, let's take the Brillo pad and go, after the old skillet that's been at your great grandmother's house. You can't rinse it the way I rinsed it. And so what we'll probably do is fill it up with water. So if you can't get to it right now, fill it up with water. It'll soak in that water, so it'll be easier to come off. Or I won't do it now, and we'll soak it in water all day tomorrow. It's not that big a deal. So that's the worst case scenario of cleaning it. But some people aren't willing to do this much cleaning, and if soy milk isn't your favorite, I just want you to know that there's more work involved.
The Soya Joy comes with a special scrubbing pad that works really well.
We have, where did I put all these? Each milk maker has come with something. So, and then I really like these little OXO brushes we got somewhere else. Those are good for getting in the little nooks and crannies. It even has a little thing that you can get in there. And again, I've also had people go, it's not that hard. Why do you say it's that hard? And it's because I get emails about people saying, that's really hard. Why didn't you tell me that was really hard? But Okara is a magical nutritional ingredient. As you can see, it's kind of, and let me send some of this around so everybody can see it.
You wouldn't eat it just like that. You would put it in something.
It tastes very good.
Oh, you can do,
Oh, she's eating it.
I love it. But,
Maybe you'll like it.
what I do with it though, it doesn't really taste like much to me. But what I do is I'll take this, and actually I still have one more thing to go through. I'm gonna put it over here. Okay, I add about half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of lactic acid. I start with an eighth of a cup of nutritional yeast. I will go up to a quarter, and then I use salt or salt substitute to taste. And guess what that is? Free ricotta.
Oh.
That's not made with nuts. And it's okay. So the only vegan ricotta you can get, and see, this is just me being real, because I'm not wasting no Okara. Because that's my ricotta. That's my future lasagna. And so that's the thing. So, and Donna, to kind of get back to your point, I wasn't trying to make fun of you wanting to know about the nutrition. It's just the thing is you just can't know. But what you can do is always use the pulp.
Yeah.
And then that way you may not be getting it in the same day. You remember back in the old days, y'all, like back in the 80s when you had to protein combine? Everybody remember that? So you were supposed to eat rice and beans together if you were a vegetarian, or you were going to die from protein. We were so close, weren't we? We were all so close now. And now we know better. We know we don't. It's kind of like more of over a day or over a couple of days that we get all our stuff. And it kind of, all those microbiome stuff kind of organize it for us, because they're like, you're not dying. They're kind of like our rescue dog who's at the house. They're not taking my mommy, right? So that's what our microbiome is, protecting us and kind of getting all that stuff going. But it's so good. And the Kite Hill almond ricotta, I believe, has oil in it, but I am not positive. Their yogurt, the unsweetened plain almond yogurt, does not have oil, and it's good. Your own homemade soy yogurt is also good. And that's why having a Soy Joya or a Meomat, if you are a soy milk aficionado, is that you can make it thick enough, rich enough, proteined enough that it will make a thicker homemade soy yogurt. And so I'm going to be doing some videos about those soon. So, and we'll send up some of this. Now, this may not taste beautiful because it's just plain unsweetened soy milk. Maybe we should put something in here. Let's put something in here. I didn't really bring, do you have a whisk? Okay. These are kind of fun. These are 2 vegan honeys that I have. Is anybody no sugar who's here? Because I can pour you out a sample without anything. Everybody's like, do not give me the plain soy milk to drink. So this is the single origin vegan Unhoney Plus made with flower pollen. They have a variety. This is the copper one, and it's made of date nectar and flower pollen. It's unhoneyed dandelion syrup. And some of you from the South may remember some of your people making kind of a sugar and dandelion. So it's got, there we go, dandelion root, leaf petal, water, raw cane sugar, lemons, and oranges in there. So
And that's made in Greenville,
South Carolina. And support them if you can. It's by Big Fields LLC. I'll put the link in later on too. It's just here. I'll send a little bit for you guys to smell. It's my last bit, so I'm not gonna put it in if you don't mind. Do that. See, if you come to real demos, you get like show and tells, and you get to taste stuff. All right. So this is going to be a little bit. When I smell that, like that smells just like honey to me, like the light clover honey. They had a clover variety. This is because it's date syrup. It has a little bit of a middle range, but you can kind of taste some of that. Let's see, 2, 3, probably about a quarter cup ish. And let's see what flavoring things. Should we put? I don't think the cocoa is going to go very well in there.
Vanilla.
You want a little vanilla?
Like vanilla salt in the coffee. Good idea.
Being crazy because I got the big Costco one. Usually I try to put it in a smaller thing. I do that with maple syrup too, because if not, you feel like I have all the money in the world. Okay. And so other things I could have done in there is I could have put strawberries, blueberries, chocolate chips, cocoa.
Would you put it in while you're making it? Would you just throw in?
Depend on the milk. Like if it's not cooking the milk, I will always put it in, but we're gonna do some where we are kind of heating things up to make a warmer drink. And I'll probably do that too. And we could have put dates in there with it and gone ahead and had it really well. Let me taste this, see what we're looking at.
Did you say you're gonna do a chai tea?
That's good. Some of you guys may or may not like it, and that's okay. Everything isn't always for everyone, and that's perfect. Do you want to do samples?
I can do that.
You got it. It's a little bit warm. Okay.
We take our care and put it in our oatmeal.
Oh, that's a great idea too.
Yeah, I never found a good thing to do with it besides that.
Oh, it's great. I did, haven't put this recipe up yet, but in a class I did black bean Okara smash burgers. Because they're so cool. Do you know why you should do smash burgers? Because if it looks like it's going to be a little bit like wet and not firm up enough in the middle, smash that puppy down, and now you're cool.
Yeah.
Right? I love that. I love trends where you can be messing something up and everything turns out even better.
Didn't you make me cottage cheese out of that one time too?
I made you cottage cheese from making tofu, which I'm never doing again. Because you didn't finish it. And so basically, because I made tofu, you kind of make soy milk and then you put it in something and you add coagulant. And then it kind of starts looking like cottage cheese and you strain it. Then you press it in a mold and that's what becomes tofu. So I just had it to where it was strained. And I gave it to her. And I washed up a lot of pots. That was before I had a soy milk maker. Okay. We'll do, I think what we'll do next is we'll make chocolate date walnut milk in the Nutrimilk.
Step aside. What did you add to the soy milk?
I added,
Chocolate.
I added vanilla and this copper honey.
Okay.
I'll leave it up this way. And honey, for anyone being a little bit nervous, it's vegan honey. It's perfectly fine.
What's the difference? I mean, you would think all honey's vegan.
No, big.
That's a big conversation.
You take
So,
True vegans do not do.
it's a plant-based meeting here, so just if you're thinking of making a comment about honey, just take a deep breath and know that we use vegan honey. We're just glad to have you here.
Yes. One of the things that I do want to note about the Chapel Hill Plant for Your Pod is that it is all inclusive. And so although this one meeting once a month, we require it to be oil-free, whole food, plant-based, we understand that everybody comes from every lifestyle and we are just here to help educate and spread the word that this stuff can be good and simple.
Yeah. And it's delicious. And that's the same way with my group of people watching on YouTube, is that if you're just wanting to do Meatless Monday, you just want to learn a little more about vegan food, the Plant Pot is a great place to come and get to taste some things and do that. So I just try to keep everything clean for everybody. I like to have no fights. I have right? Um, yeah, you like, and so usually what I would do if I'm flavoring milk, I would futz a little bit more. I'd probably use half the amount I think I should use of sweetener, and then go back and forth a little bit. But I was like, this isn't just for me. It's someone out there it was too sweet for, someone out there it wasn't sweet enough. Right. So, and that's okay. That's the other thing about making it home is you make it exactly for you and your family. Okay. So we're going to look at this Nutrimilk. And I have to read the instructions because I haven't done it in a little while. So you guys will have to bear with me. Okay. So now this is the most expensive machine that we're looking at. Okay. It's $500. It's kind of a beast. Yeah. So you're going to see it does some kind of cool stuff. So if you're the person that's like, I will spend $8 a half gallon for these expensive milks in the store as they go up, until I can not have to filter my milk perfectly, this is your machine. If you are, we eat so much nut butter, me and my kids. It's about, I'm going to have to get a second mortgage from all the nut butter, right? This makes great nut butter. Also, I don't know if you guys, and I didn't bring an example, so, because literally you can see this in your mind's eye. Anybody have Joy, Joi, nut milk concentrate?
Oh, I tried that, yeah.
See, I was sending it to you mentally. It's literally nut butter. But what it is it's nut butter that's so finely ground. So again, it's just like this commercial machine that can grind it better than anything else. This comes pretty darn close. Joy is not inexpensive either. Nuts are not inexpensive. So, I'm not trying to like really harp on anyone. And the best places to get nuts, you can get them in bulk on Amazon. You can get just what you need over at Sprouts. So there's all these different things. So if you guys see me kind of like go over there, my eyes get really big. It's raining, and the hurricane isn't. We're in the middle of the state, so we're probably good to go unless a power outage happens, which I'm not anticipating. But on the East Coast, they're getting a little bit. It's a little bit hairy. So send some love to them. Okay, so and again, I'm not good at doing this backwards, but so inside of here,
You want me to hold it so you can-
no, so this, it like turns it around, like that's what this guy does. It just has no other job than like, woo, cleaning these off. This is the magic part. It is a like awfully sharp blade. Also, then we have this little thing here. That's a spout. And this guy is an internal here, and see, that's what's going to filter.
Does it cook too? Does it cook?
It does not cook. But you can make soy milk in it just the same way, but you would have to cook it. Yeah. I think this is probably, and they come with this like giant book of stuff. So they're not playing.
Does the filter get dirty? Do you have to clean it?
You have to clean all of this.
It's like cleaning a food processor, kind of the same kind of intenseness.
Depending on your food processor, it may not be as painful. It's pretty easy to clean. It cleans up pretty easy, but like
That's true. We had one food processor.
there was
Every
like,
time it got brought out, I was like, ooh.
you just want a little brush like this to go over the filters. And I use these also on our fine mesh strainers. And it came with a cleaning device too. I think think this was its cleaning device, but I'm not sure. And it has like a little thing here where you can get around the sides if you're doing nut butter and stuff. Okay, so I have, you're like, I'm trying to see what other, you can do smoothies and bowls, nut butters, dips and spreads. And they have some coffee and tea, but basically it's kind of like you're making creamer. So you're not really making coffee in here. One thing that would be interesting that I haven't done is to put a couple of cups of coarsely ground coffee to start out with in here with, let's say, nut of your choice. Let's just say cashews because that's easy to do. Whatever it says in here. And then maybe do a half a one instead of a whole. Let it sit for 24 hours so you cold brew your coffee. And then do it so you would have cold brew and creamer come out all at the same time. I'm going to do that in the future and see what happens because I never thought about it till just a second.
Carlene says she loves her Nutri-Milk. She makes all sorts of things in it, anything pate, and she puts it on the butter setting.
Ooh, that's a great idea. That's a great, and like this thing comes out, I'll show you all that in a little bit. So I just want to show you there's two parts. So there's another thing that comes on here that doesn't have this for you to make nut butters and pates. And since we were just making that, okay. And then I have to look at the thing because I always jump the gun and pick the thing I'm not supposed to do. So so we're going to make walnut milk. So we need about a couple walnuts. Here's a half cup. And these I think I got at Costco. With Christmas coming, Costco is going to have some really good nuts. And they usually have better prices. Now, you can always store a large container of nuts in the fridge or freezer to make it last longer because it does have like volatile oils that will go bad. So when you hear this, it's kind of horrible. So if you have some nuts now, just have something delicious nearby, like your favorite lemonade or a nice iced coffee, and just taste the nuts. And if they're rancid, and rancid is such a hard word, isn't it? It just makes me think of like bugs. I don't know why, but it's not about that. It's about the oils kind of getting acidic and tasting weird, and then they get on your gums. But that's the best way to decide if your nuts from last year are okay or your nuts from 2020 are okay that you ordered and you just found, something like that. We're going to I'm going to make it chocolate, so we're going to put 2 tablespoons of cocoa. And we could put more. Let's do 3. Let's do 3. Okay. And then we're going to do the butter cycle first. And the reason I always want to do it different is because it's different than every other machine, right? So we're going to make the nut butter first. So I'm going to put this in here.
So what's like a ratio of nuts to how much nut butter you get out of it?
It will be a little bit less. So I would think, depending on the nut, it could be as little as half as less. But like, let's see. So if we're looking at a nut butter, there are nut butter recipes in here. So let's say simple almond butter. What does it say? 2 cups of raw almonds yields about 1 1/4 cup nut butter. So that's pretty good. I was thinking also almonds are pretty compact. Something like walnuts are not that compact. So I would think 1 cup of walnuts would yield even a little less than half.
Because I buy a decent amount of almond butter and I'm wondering if it actually would be worth it. Because, I mean, the almond butter is like, it's not crazy.
It's not cheap.
It's not cheap for sure.
It's kind of expensive too.
It just, you can sometimes find them different places. So like these are not the Medjool dates. You can use any date you have. You may have to use more of these than Medjool dates to make it as sweet as you want. These were $3 at like Home Goods. So these are great ones to use. They're good till 2024. So a lot of times I will get dates at at Home Goods, Trader Joe's, something like that. I'm slipping my ring in my pocket.
So,
And I'm gonna check, they're pitted, but I'm gonna check for pits. And it says 3 large pitted medulas. I'm gonna put 6 of these. Okay.
so Carlene was saying she has the butter container for it. And she was saying that her mock liver pate is a breeze in the Nutri-Milk, and her cream cheese using Okara.
Oh, that's what I
Much
need to
better.
make. She sent me the cream
Yeah.
cheese, make it using Okara as a base. She uses Okara and cashews.
It's much better than the food processor Vitamix. That was a nice discovery and agreed that it's easy to clean.
Okay, she agrees it's easy to clean. She's been doing some crazy stuff. She even put Okara in there, people. And so, why am I checking this? Because has anyone ever put a pitted date in your Vitamix and heard, "Grrr"? That is why. So just tear them in half and wash your hands. They're a little sticky now. And I don't know if you guys can see in the background, there's all this like, I feel like I'm at the spa. There's this array of doTERRA hand wash and dish soap and hand lotion. So if you guys are in the market for some doTERRA, email me at kathyhester@gmail.com and I will forward you to Elizabeth, who will take care of you the way she takes care of me, which is the sweetest ever. Okay, so I put about 6 medjool dates in there. Will that be enough? Who knows? They're just like a plant product, right? Can I do it?
You have to make the nut butter before you make.
That's what we're gonna do right now.
Like you have to do it that way.
In that order.
That's what they tell you to do.
With this appliance.
Yeah. This appliance is different than all the other appliances. Yeah. So like with the pecan milk, we just threw the pecans in with the water and ta-da! It all happened. Okay, so we're gonna do the butter cycle for 2 minutes. And I can't see any of this. Okay, so there's the butter. I click the butter and it says 16 minutes. And I'm going the wrong way, so we're gonna do it for 2 minutes. And then there's a start stop button. Always make sure this spout is on good and it's closed. I kind of keep stuff off the sides and everything. There's a walnut stuff right over there. This just encourages me to be more proactive. First, you get the butter. No, this is a lot of oil in this. Now, this may not end up looking like nut butter because we added cocoa and we added in dates. So it's going to be thicker than a regular nut butter would be. That walnut's gone. And it's scraping the lid because also I was like, there's cocoa on the lid. It's making me nervous. Because that would be all up in there with the spatula like that. So you guys at home, this is some of the buffet stuff. Vegan feta cheese. This was the pasta salad and cacti. Look at that cute little pumpkin. Is that not the cutest? So, and then here's some corn chowder. Okay, and this is what Elizabeth was talking about. Wrapped in banana leaves. It's like beans and banana and coconut. Doesn't that look amazing?
What is it, banana?
It's banana. Isn't that crazy?
Want me to go grab you one?
Yeah, why don't you? Okay,
Okay.
You sure? Yep.
so then we're gonna unlock this. So much, it's hard to do. There we go. It's hard to do when I'm not facing it like normal. So you can see in here. So it looks a little bit like brownie.
Which is not bad.
No. I don't think anybody would be sad about eating this as a butter. So see, it just looks a little bit like brownie, like raw brownie.
No.
Now, I put 3 tablespoons of cocoa powder in there, and that's why it is, you know, less like butter and more like a raw vegan dessert. Because it kind of is, there's also dates in there. This kind of is the recipe for, isn't it?
You gonna try it?
It's good. And so it does have some of the bitter hints that walnut can have, right? So one of the kind of cool things about nut milks is you really can bring out those little subtleties. Okay. Now here's the ones I'm doing. So now basically we didn't have to take this out, but now it's out. We're going to put 4 cups of water in because I Googled and 4 cups is a quart. And it's okay. See how it's kind of coming out to that second part? It's okay. There we go. Get that back in there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to press mix and not change the default time. See, there's a dispense too. And then we're going to press start. And it's going to kind of get everybody all mixed up in together. So the inner container is straining out any of that stuff we would strain in our fine mesh strainer. I also wonder if this is 34 ounces, 8 times 4. Oh yeah, that's 34 ounces. I tried with the maths for you guys. So this is going to go on for about 4 more minutes. So it's taking a while. So now it's kind of doing, hey, let's blend everybody together, filter this stuff out. Then when I press dispense, I'll lift that and it'll all come out. And again, when I tasted the batter, I could have been like, I don't think this is going to be sweet enough for my family. And I could have done it again with some more dates, or if I thought, oh, that's too much chocolate, I could get in some more nuts, right? And it can never be too much chocolate. That's why I went ahead and added a nut. I'm not the biggest chocolate fan, but there's certain things I like it a lot. Cheryl loves everything chocolate. I love like chocolate orange, like some orange zest in here. I think would be delicious. And Cheryl would hate it.
So I used to not like chocolate either, but I use the doTERRA essential oil, which has nutritional factors, and now I enjoy these. So baking soda.
So
it's really complicated chocolate too.
So what you guys are hearing is that Elizabeth was saying that there's a doTERRA oils, they were sold that were saved in those were going to have a peppermint one. There's some you're going to start making little treaty things in a minute after this. But just if you're going to use an essential oil and it's not doTERRA, please make sure that it's food safe because a lot of them are not. But doTERRA is. Oh, good. Thank you. Okay, so here's the nutrition label. This is the bottle. Here's what's really important. That smells delicious. So a serving size is 1 drop, has about 85 servings. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Everybody loves these. There's a kitchen place that I found online that had them reasonably priced. They're Kilmer jars. On the Kilmer site, they're stupid expensive. Like $50 expensive. But I got them for like $27. I had gotten them. It wasn't a TJ Maxx or Home Goods, but if you go into Cheryl's Gone and carry Crossroads, where it's weird to get anywhere from one place to the other. So there's like Ross and Lucas over here, and then you turn around, there's some home goods store that doesn't sound familiar. It's like Home Citrus. I found them. We were just there recently and they didn't have any. That's where I got my first two.
And what are they called again?
They're Kilner stackable jars. So
Kilner?
Kilner, Kilner, and that's a brand of canning jars. Okay, so let's see. Help me get everything going. And so it's with the dispense, it still spins to try and get all of that goodness out. And I made almond butter in here before, just with the almonds, and it was perfect. It's really smooth. If you want a smoother, I'm still not trusting that this is the right. Okay, maybe I'm trusting it. It was still going a lot coming out. I think it could still be a little sweeter, but that's me. So it's got like 8 more seconds, and that's it, just spinning to try and get any of this stuff it can out into this water part. Sometimes it will also have some foam in this outer part. I'm trying to see, and so that's kind of what you're seeing there. That's not milk, that's foam. And basically we'll just rinse all this out and it'll just pretty much be done. And then you have chocolate almond milk to try.
I thought it was walnuts.
Oh, it is. Thank you. Patty's a big fat liar is what today is. Okay. So that we don't have to clean this up. Did I? Yeah. We're going to just unplug that one and put it to the side, possibly. And then I'm going to make some little treatiers. This cord is made for grown-up men and not 5'1" Kathy. Okay, so we've got these done. Now, we're not making milk with everything that you can make milk with. So I'm not making it with pumpkin seeds. I'm not making it with sunflower seeds or hemp seeds, which you can, right? So someone asked about chai, right? Let's do chai. So does anybody have a certain sugar? Like, can you have vegan white sugar? Anybody anti-white sugar? Okay.
On the brand unit's on sale today for $69 if anybody's interested.
I will put up the link later, or you could go to healthyslowcooking.com. I don't think it automatically appears on Lives, but I do have a link. It's on sale for $69.
Sweet.
That's my favorite. So this is just Celestial Seasonings Bengal Spice Tea. So you could do this with other black tea. Now, you could do it in this one because we have a button. The hot is only for like 4 minutes. So you can do black tea in it.
Good boy.
So I'm not going to put these tea bags in here. because that would put the paper pureed into all our stuff. But we're gonna strain stuff out anyhow. So I'm gonna take 2 tea bags, open them up, and put the contents in here. Okay? And then I'm gonna wipe this off. And here's the thing, just think of this as a base. You could always make something different, better, more interesting. All right, so I'm gonna put in about a tablespoon of vegan white sugar. You could use maple syrup. You could use dates. We're gonna do dates and something else. All right, so then I have some cashews. You can use raw or toasted nuts. It will change the flavor. It'll change the nutritional value somewhat too. Okay, so I'm just putting it right on in here. I'm gonna put about 2 tablespoons of cashews. I'm gonna put 1 tablespoon of oats because that's how I like it. This will thicken because we're gonna heat it. So I'm using kind of the oat slimy for the power of good, right? Just like we all like hot oatmeal. So it's a little different than when we're making it. Like, so some of the Asian machines have an oat milk setting or grain milk setting. That is not what we Americans want in typical, because that's not going to make you oatly, like not even close. But this I like because it thickens it up a little bit. As you can see that that's just in there. I feel like I'm going to do a magic trick. Notice there's nothing up. And then I'm just going to put in some water. And again, notice the thing that you should notice is I put in stuff. Now I'm putting in the water. And I know that sounds silly, but you have not heard the people that I have heard. So usually I put mine between min and max. And it's going to go for, I feel like I'm at home now. Got a big old mess. Yes. All right. And so I could, if I wasn't so short, I'd be able to see some of the stuff from farther away. Oh, it's because the lid moved. There we go. The lid has to be on well. And that's one of the things with the Nutter. The lid's kind of loosey-goosey. If it goes off, it'll get an E2. If it's not on, like, so let's say you plugged it in, you're going to immediately get an E2. That's with all the little milk makers. So don't assume that it's broken, because what I did is I moved that. That's what happened. Okay, there's a start and a delay. So we're going to go, that's room temperature, water to 150, hot, boil water, keep warm, self-clean, right? So we're going to do warm 150, which is 5 minutes. It auto started. So typically what you're using that for is to boil water for your tea. Think of it that way. And the hot one we're using if we're making soy milk. So it's the soybeans. That's why it goes so much longer. But I'm kind of using this for the power of tea. Right? So it gives us about the right amount. If you're very particular and you only like your tea steeped for 3 to 4 minutes, this might not work for you. This is herbal tea, so honestly, we could steep it all day long and it would just be more delicious. So there's that. And so this will take a couple of minutes. Do you guys have any questions while this is happening? Because I can show you some oat milk if there is no questions. Isn't that kind of cool that it just does the stuff all by itself? And one thing that's good about this too, and you probably will see some steam coming out of these 3 holes. Our Archimiri has a couple of different styles. I like this style the best because it's less likely to overflow because it lets some of that steam out instead of holding it and pressuring up something through the spout. And if you get one of these machines and it seems faulty, it probably is. So contact the manufacturer and they'll send you another one. It's just, there's so many appliances that do go wrong. And it's just okay. They're there waiting, trying to help you.
So I have a soy joy. If I didn't want another appliance, I could make nut milk in that, but it doesn't have the container. So
You just have to strain it through a fine mesh strainer. Yeah, the Soy Joya is really comparable to the Mio Mat. I find that they're very similar. So you can do any of those things. The only thing I wouldn't do in one of those, I don't know for sure about the Soy Joya, but like if I did this, you saw how long the soy milk cooked, right? If I put black tea in there, it would be disgusting. And I like my tea strong, but even that, so the tannins are going to build up and it's going to become more and more and more bitter. So whereas this is just herbs, there's no tea in this because again, it's just the Bengal spice. So like what, I think we have roasted chicory and roasted carob, but if you had just a rooibos chai blend, that would also be fine here. You could do, I do have an Earl Grey. I thought we might make a quick London fog for you guys to try too, because 5 minutes isn't that long. And we'll make a cocoa too. So I've made, and I didn't bring the recipe, so I'm going to remake in my mind a candy bar creamer. But there's a candy bar creamer recipe on my YouTube channel. So like, basically, on this cycle, I just throw a couple of tablespoons of chocolate chips in there. I did some toasted almonds and some dates. And if it's not thick enough or you feel like it's separate, you could add some xanthan gum in there. You could add some ground chia seeds. And the reason I say ground over regular is that then they just kind of makes like boba tea, little tiny mini boba tea. And Cheryl cannot stand that texture. So I can't use it in my house. I love boba tea. But I also don't want my morning milk to feel like that because then, you know, I did grow up drinking milk. So that's not a good feeling. So hopefully that. And I'm trying to think of what else. So like you could do something. You could infuse something like this in the almond cow, but what I would do, since it doesn't have heat, the heat is what's making our herbal tea flavor the water. So you would need to do it kind of like you would sun tea. Like now we don't do sun tea, right? Because we know it could kill us, like everything else. But what we do is we put the tea bags in cold water and in a jar and we stick it in the fridge. So basically what you could do, if it's cold, I would be crazy and leave it out on the counter, is that I would I still would open up the tea bags because you really don't need the taste of paper in there. In the almond cow in that little basket of my sweetener, that could be dates, that could be vegan sugar, it could be vegan honey, it could be maple syrup, it could be brown sugar, right? Agave nectar, anything you want, stevia, monk fruit, whatever the new things are. And then I would let it sit in the water overnight for at least 24 hours if you can, 12 hours if you can't wait any longer. And I would do that with an herbal tea. And so it's telling me it's done. Isn't that nice, Bet? I'm going to go ahead and rinse this top off because we're going to make a bunch more things here. Because I trust it more than, it's my favorite small. We can make one in the nutter. We'll make a chocolate in the nutter. So what I usually do is I'd have a glass, but we can do it here. This will work perfect. Is I have a little bar strainer and I'll put it on top of there. And then, because we've got all that, because whenever you start pouring, you're like, oh, I don't really need a strainer. And then at the end, you're like, oh, yeah, I really need a strainer.
Now, what was in this again? It was the tea.
Tea, cashews,
And water.
vegan sugar, water, and Hingle spice. Just because that's what I have. I bought a case of it because I'm old now and I can't have caffeine late at night. That happened about a decade ago and it happened all in one day. I had iced tea with dinner and I was up till 4 o'clock in the morning on a work day. And I ate at like 6 o'clock. So I didn't have it like at midnight. And now I have to be careful. So again, we've got this little strainer. So all we're doing, she's like, why is that all poured out? So it all gets down there and it stuffs up the holes. And we're just moving it around so that other water can escape down there. And honestly, with this, you could put this in a scone. Cashews leave the least residue of any milk. Pecans are the next one. Those are just real soft milks. See how I'm pressing here? You can press on this. I would not, usually I won't press on anything with oat because that's when you're going to get more stringy ickiness that freaks people out. It's a little trash.
Yeah, just trying to hold with you.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so I'm just going to rinse this off because we're going to use it again for some of our other exciting drink experiments.
Cashew oats tea.
And so the reason I like to use oats in my drink, so I'll do this in the morning.
Cashew matrix.
And so,
It's almonds.
and if you look, it will foam up a little bit. So when you pour it into your glass, I'm like, I don't need no Starbucks. I got me.
So we thinking at Starbucks.
Okay. It's just a little warm, but it's not super hot because we were on the warm setting. I'm going to rinse this out again. Oh, you do have a spray.
I do. I spray everywhere, but I do have a spray.
I usually just use the sprayer in here. And that's all you really need.
Now, would you do that with the Mio mat too, or just like?
Yes, I would. And I kind of did. Now, there's a little bit of, just so I'm going to get, because I see homeworks.
Hopefully it pours out. I have to open it.
Am I supposed to touch?
No, it just is, waits for the air to get to the,
I just need what's on the side of it, but I got more than enough right there.
by the time it comes out, it's not.
And I'm just gonna, because it got warm, I'm just gonna scrub the bottom a little bit. Because when it gets warm, then that means the oats are gonna have a little residue on there, the nuts. It's not anything big. And then I'm just rinsing it out with the sprayer.
Could go backwards. Just see the back of it.
All right.
Yeah, so it looks like it.
So let's see, what should we make next? What did I say I would make? I know I'm gonna make you a creamer. Did I say hot chocolate?
Chocolate, yeah.
Yeah, hot chocolate.
All right. So
I have a question.
we could do hot chocolate either with chocolate chips or with cocoa.
Oh, you have a question?
Yes.
So the big one
Uh-huh.
is the Nutrimilk.
Yeah.
So is the big benefit of that you can make the nut butter compared to the other ones? 'Cause I know it's more expensive, so it's like, why
I
would
like
you spend
that.
more money?
It would be for the nut butters, and some people are making pâtés and different things like that, smoothies, juicing. I believe that Chef AJ may have made some frozen banana ice cream in it too. So, and actually, because we're not going to use it anymore, do you want? I'm going to hand back the big book of the Nutrimilk, and that way you can look through it and get a few more things. You good or too sweet?
This is
Okay.
really good.
Okay.
Love the tea flavor.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things.
It's really good.
And what I like is so like, let's say you're gonna have dinner, you throw that together, have it all in there. And you can even put it on a delay timer if you know, oh, I want that in about 2 hours before I go to bed. And then it will magically make it for you. And then you just strain it out into your cup.
Because there's no, you can have it at night.
Because there's no caffeine. If you use the regular chai with black tea, I can't have it. Maybe you can have it, but I can't.
Can you taste a difference? Or is it just the effect?
That's a person to person thing. Some people can taste the difference between regular coffee and decaffeinated coffee.
Oh, yeah, there's a difference.
I can't.
Oh, yeah.
But I see the people who can taste it really can taste it. But like I can tell the difference in a lot of other things. So, but it doesn't bother me. And for me, with chai, it's more about those beautiful, wonderful spices. And I think Celestial Seasoning does such a great job with adding chicory and some other things in there to make it taste just the way you want it. Oh, I was thinking let me make, before I do that, just flavor wise, I think I want to make a caffeinated tea for you guys. And I think I'm going to make a fancy caffeinated tea. And this one I will, what other sweet? Can any, oh, and I could do a coffee drink too. We could do a mocha instead of a hot chocolate if there's a consensus.
We can't drink coffee.
Okay, I have cappuccino as well. Okay, so this one does have caffeine. This is a nice Earl Grey tea. And I should let you, do we have another smelly? Oh wait, here, I can put these back in. Do you hear me, my owl?
Your owl.
Like, what are you talking about?
Oh, so
And then you guys can smell, this tea is amazing. So,
oh yeah.
oh yeah, no, it's a heady wonder. This is,
The tea.
Hardly and Sons, I think, is some of the tea we have. But, so here's another sweetener idea. This is a vanilla Torani syrup. So this is like this one isn't exactly like, so this is a different label with the red, and it's Pure Made. So it doesn't have as many of the weird things. Okay.
I make my own.
Yep, nothing wrong with making your own either. And I do that with a lot of them. I get funny about using my vanilla willy-nilly. But so the ingredients in this are pure cane sugar, water, natural flavors, and citric acid. And I haven't used it yet. I got it at Ross's for $4.99. I feel like we're doing a wine tasting.
I know.
So you really can smell the vanilla. So a London Fog is Earl Grey tea with vanilla syrup. And so I'm going to just kind of free pour about a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons in there. It's going to be too sweet for some of you, not sweet enough for others of you. No, I put tea in there, and I'm going to put about a teaspoon of loose leaf tea. This is a good quality loose leaf. You can usually tell when it's longer leaves and things. And I passed it around, but you guys can really smell the bergamot flavor in there. And to me, that's what makes it magical. Okay, so we got some tea in there. I'm probably going to just use cashews again, cashews and oats. This is my go-to cheaper thing. So I could do all oats. I could do all cashews. We could do half and half. We could, this time let's do 1 tablespoon of cashews and 2 tablespoons of oats. I like my drinks like this a little richer. So I find 3 tablespoons works about right for me. And this tea will be ever so slightly stronger because it's going to go for 5 minutes. So again, get it to the warm. Oh, there we go. room temperature and warm are both 5 minutes. So I was looking at the wrong place. So, you know what? We can get the nutter going with something. Let's see about making some hot chocolate in it. Yeah. It's saying it's doing.
Did you say you put cashews and
You know what I
oats in
did
here?
not do?
She did.
Did everybody else notice?
Water?
Water. Nobody told me. You guys.
Can't make it up. We all do it.
Oh, absolutely. Somebody noticed and didn't tell me. That's your job.
How much water was that?
To the max fill line.
She's got.
So-
Maybe,
Yeah, so on each maker, it has max and min.
so you just fill it up.
So it's less, if you're making this in the nutter, it's less. And in the nutter, you probably could get away with using a little less of everything else. Or live your best life, make it a little richer, add some more hot water if you feel like you need it. Thank goodness I didn't burn that up. Okay, all right. So the nutter. There's nothing wrong with the nutter. The nutter's great. If you own the nutter, you are fine. You do not need to buy another nut milk maker. I found that it just was not as hardy as the Archmira. So if you already have a nutter, there's nothing wrong with it. If you don't have one yet, I recommend the Archmira. Why? This one costs $169. What were you saying? The Archmira is $69 on sale right now. Now, I will say the Archmira is made by some magical manufacturer that I know. It's some Chinese manufacturer. Now, I've gotten some other things that are made in China that have not been really good. This is held up. It's the only one I've had, and this is the one I was making drinks like this in every morning. So, again, okay, so on hot chocolate. So, anybody know oil? Like, because chocolate chips have some oil in them. I'm 90 to 95%, so I'll live my best life on this one. These have cane sugar, unsweetened chocolate, and cocoa butter. These are the Enjoy Life ones. And then if you don't use sugar, and I think this one may be demonized now too, Lily's. And so Lily's has stevia, but it also has erythritol.
Oh, erythritol?
Erythritol. Give the man a prize for saying something right. And in the one, which I think is still okay. So I think that one is now not so great. So this is kind of the only no sugar chocolate chips in town. It's still going to have oil. Why? Why do all these have? Oh, actually, these do not have oil.
Which one?
The Lily. It has unsweetened cocoa. So wherever you see something, you should. So this one doesn't have oil.
Oh, really?
Check on and see if I'm missing something.
So Alyssa's saying in the back that this brand has a no.
So that's the
Pasha.
I buy the chocolate chips that are just cocoa, and maybe it's on the Trader Joe's because they stopped. So I looked online, and that's the only brand I could find that had chocolate chips with just cocoa powder.
Lily?
The Pasha.
Yeah, it looks like Lily. That looks like Lily's do. Now
They
these
sell other times.
are the white chocolate chips. So she's not talking about these because white chocolate is cocoa butter. So there is no white chocolate, no oil. Just, I hate to be sad about that. But there used to be no oil chocolate chips at Trader Joe's, and she's saying the Pasha does make them. Because everything at Trader Joe's is private label. What that means is Kraft could be making Trader Joe's cheese, and Enjoy Life could be making Trader Joe's new chocolate chips. You just don't know.
She said the hers is a red bag one for her.
And it's a red bag is the one that might not have it.
Yeah, it's on Amazon and on the website.
Okay.
I bought them on the website.
And these are no milk baking chips, and they are delicious. So I have some Enjoy Life no milk ones, and I like those a lot. They're just not quite as sharp. If you're making something like a cocoa and you're like, oh, I wish this was less sharp, you could add some more, add less of the chocolate chips, add more of the cashews or something like that. So let's, okay, we're gonna use the Pasha one. Or are we? No, we're gonna use the dry ones. Because they have more of that. And these are the mini ones, which are my favorite. I love you guys a lot.
And I just want to note, even though she did the, what is this, the Miro Mate earlier, and we didn't immediately wash it, it's not crazy stuck on.
Oh, look at you back there washing stuff. Thank you. So I'm gonna put, actually, and since these have sugar in it, I'm gonna put 3 tablespoons of these. We may not need any other sugar. Anybody for or against lavender? Anybody against lavender? I'm like pro lavender. All right, so why don't we make a lavender? Where did I put my other thing? Here we go. Yeah, lavender's calming. I love it. So I'm gonna put it, you can put as little as much as you want. I'll try, here, let me start again. I'm not cooking for myself. I will put about a half teaspoon in there. And then, again, you could do all oats or cashews, but honestly, cashews are gonna be richer because cashews have fat in them. And that is why I'm using it in this demo. And because I want you to taste the richer part, you could use brown rice milk in here if you wanted to, right? So if you had a milk you wanted to get rid of, you don't have to, you can be like, oh, I can't use that. You can put a whole made milk. And I'm gonna put I'm gonna put 3 tablespoons in there. Why not? It's raining. You drove all the way here. You should have some treat goodness. And I'm gonna pour this up.
It might be stained, you got some sleep.
We got a loft upstairs and I need to.
And I'm gonna go just below the max line.
So cashew, no oats in this one.
Yeah,
Chocolate chip.
it's pretty much just random and whatever I'm deciding to do.
Your tea just finished.
I know. Are you excited? We're gonna get this one started. We're gonna do this the same thing. We're just gonna come over and go to water 140. And you can kind of hear it. This one's much louder. And that's because this has a lot of insulation on it, which is lovely. Oh, that smells good. Thank you.
They are always considerably less loud than the Ninjas.
Yeah, it's all less loud than the Ninja Creamy. And so if you're looking at this, you're like, I like my milk or my tea milkier. You could have added more cashews. You could have added less tea, so you can adjust this. It smells really good though. You could also put some lavender in this. You can also put your sweetener in at the end instead of here. Since if I'm using a dry sweetener or dates, you want to put it in when it gets hot, right? Just like when you make sweet tea, you want to put that sugar in to dissolve when it's hot. Anybody else see that move, or is that?
Shift just a little.
I'm like, should I have eaten more? And you could use a bigger spray though. That's why I look at the top, you can see it doing its thing. Thank you. All right. And to me, like if you're like, well, I don't really make milk, Well, this is the most fun part about having a smaller milk maker. You can make all those $10 coffee shop drinks. Okay. Right?
He's really human too, I guess.
Well, and here's the thing. I always say, if all you want to do is make oat milk to close the drink, don't do any of this. And don't let me forget, I will at least give you tips to how to make oat milk at home if I don't make it here. We'll see how many things I have to put things in. Well,
It's okay. Yeah, smell it, it's not as bad.
that's my favorite winter drink.
He's very strong teeth, like.
Yeah, and that's the one that does have caffeine in it.
Oh, yeah. It has caffeine in it.
Yeah, this tea that's coming around me, I'll have some caffeine.
No, it's not.
Well, so this is some Ticino that I made, and it has, this is not a gluten-free version, no, it doesn't bother me, so if anyone has celiac, you're going to try this, and it's, what do they call it? It's like butterscotch something, or maple. So it's got a little bit of flavor to it. It doesn't have any sweetness. With a cold coffee or this, you can use this as your water to mix it up, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and let's do some more cashew. I do about, I'm gonna do 4 tablespoons in this one because this Ticino is pretty dark.
What is it that you make? I couldn't hear with the noise.
Oh, sorry. I'm gonna make kind of like a warm Ticino coffee drink, kind of like a latte.
Oh, okay.
And this is already has some flavor in it. This Ticino is kind of like butterscotch cream. And I'm putting in 4 tablespoons of cashews, just because. Has anybody make Ticino? So when you make it, it is dark. And it's just very, very dark coffee. And I drink my coffee really, really light. So I'm,
What's it made out of?
it's made out of sugar, mandarin. It's got, I'm gonna forget the one ingredient that has, what's on there that Apple's telling me? There's not bulgur, barley. It's got barley. That's the gluten ingredient. They have done some testing, so I'm going to use part this and part water. Make sure you don't have sweetener in there either. Let's do dates. That'll give a good caramel flavor along with that butterscotch. You can also, I'm probably going to put about. What's this?
Yeah.
What's this one?
Remind us again what I'm sampling.
That is a London Fog tea.
London Fog.
It is Earl Grey tea
Caffeine.
with it's Earl Grey tea with vanilla.
It's got caffeine. It's real tea over. It's like lots of caffeine.
In that little taste, probably not that
No, it's not an espresso shot.
much.
The chai was the favorite so far.
Okay. So I'm putting in some dates in here. I'm probably only going to do. I'm trying to get enough taste. I know everybody else likes their coffee darker than me, so I'm trying not to kill you with that. And we'll get this one going.
I don't. Can you?
Oh, delicious stuff.
I can go back over everything
I'm gonna go for the more.
if anybody wants to have more.
I'm gonna make something with cashews and oats.
And we're just doing the same thing over and over again. We're doing that it says warm 140 setting. That setting's on the Nutter and the Arc Mira. So basically I press this twice and then it will start on its own. And that kind of gives you, so you could use cold brew coffee too, which is what I make. So making your own cold brew coffee. Like, it's funny to me because it's like very hip. I'm not hip, but cold brew coffee is hip. So when I lived in New Orleans 30 years ago, cold brew coffee was the thing. It was not hip, it's just the way New Orleans people did things. And it's a very easy way to make a coffee concentrate. Oh, it smells so good. And all you need to do, what people used to do is get this toddy maker. It's a big plastic thing with a thick, it's not exactly fabric, but some fibrous filter. And it had a stopper. You put a pound of coffee and fill it up, leave it for 24 to 48 hours, undo the stopper, and it'll drain out during a day. And then there you go. And you can freeze it. You could put it in the fridge. But who has a French press? And whoever doesn't have a French press, who has a mason jar? Right? So basically, I use about 25% of whatever the vessel is with coarse ground coffee. So if you don't have coarse ground, the world will not end. Yeah. So I probably put to about here. And I'm guessing you could put it to here and make it stronger, but you have to press out and strain it longer. And then I would strain it through a fine mesh strainer after I let it sit for 24 to 48 hours. You can get one that has a big filter in a pitcher. You can get all these fancy cold brew things. A French press is really great because even if you made it half and half, if you wanted it strong, then you just press it down. It presses that coffee grounds down while you pour the water out or the cold brew concentrate. So it's real easy. Let me rinse this and we'll get you some lavender hot chocolate for your afternoon drinking pleasure. Okay. I've got it. We'll use this one. I've got some.
You need a bigger one?
Nah.
Since I already just used the mason jars, and that wide lid.
So yeah. And since I have this like here, this smaller one, I have to be a little more careful because I will sit that in there and I will overflow it and have it just like a fountain all around there. I've done it before. But you see how much quieter that one is? And it's because it has more insulation. That also means when it's going to keep it warm. And see, this one we just use cashews. And there's almost nothing in here. No, what is that? Anybody else want to come out? So see, there's almost nothing in here. If you're doing something with cashews like that, that's usually what you're going to get. And the chocolate chips should have sweetened it enough. You're going to feel like, what fancy place am I at? That's how I feel. So I'm like,
Which one's grinding now?
the one that's grinding. Oh,
You start here.
oh, that's the Ticino.
I said I'm so lost on all of them, but they're so good.
Okay, and I can go back and do them. So the Ticino, and that's just a grain coffee substitute. So, and you can get it at Sprouts or Whole Foods or right here. And actually, I guess you couldn't even have brewed it. So this is the one that I use. Yeah, butterscotch cream. This one has fancy mushroom extract in it. And if you guys want to just let people smell that. Is there a little something?
No.
Yeah, I think that'll work.
So does that one have caffeine?
No,
Oh, wow.
no, Ticino does not have caffeine. And so I usually have cold brew coffee. Dr. McDougall doesn't like coffee, but I'll have a coffee a couple times a week.
That unhoneyed, I got their unhoneyed and then I got
Coffee
their,
substitute.
their herbal, like, the dandelion
Thank you.
coffee kind of,
Oh, now which one is this?
the unhoneyed,
Oh, no, I haven't tried it on honey bread.
Yeah, I got you a bag of, it's like dandelion, it's like, they smell like coffee. So you can like put them in a French press and you get it without the caffeine.
And see, this you can make in a French press. You can make it in a regular coffee maker. They say not to cold brew the Ticino. It works fine. I do it anyhow. But I mean, maybe to me, Ticino is close to espresso. Like, I feel like it's strong. You like the lavender in the chocolate? It's going to be divided. Someone's going to be like, who put my great grandma's perfume in my hot chocolate? And everybody else is going to be like, this is amazing.
Let's see.
I love making drinks though. So you may have to cut me off.
No.
Which one's your favorite so far?
I don't know. I'm not a huge lavender fan in my drink, but I'm really liking this one.
Which one do you hate?
No, I really like it. And I don't drink coffee or tea or chai or anything like that, but those have been my favorites so far.
Then probably
Because it's flavored and mixed and sweetened. And
probably the herbal chai that we had in the beginning would be the best fit for you. And I was thinking,
I could do this with a drop of peppermint oil instead of lavender. Do a mint hot chocolate.
so let's start this with a creamer because we're gonna make up a creamer for your dad,
Oh yeah.
right?
So for those that don't know, our dad is 93. My sister, my brother, and I. He is 93. Lives alone still. Drove up until April, and makes the whole wheat bread that we have at our events. And we're trying to transition him to more plant-based options, and creamer is one that we've not been able to find a substitute for. And so Kathy's going to do great and help us maybe find something he'll drink.
Okay. And another thing, which one? Yeah, that's the Ticino. And this one's, it's butterscotch cream. Some of them have flavors and some of them don't, but you can get chocolate mint and you can get them in tea bags too, which is pretty cool. And so no matter where you are, no matter how many people are drinking their coffee after dinner, you're like, I got you, right? So one thing that I do get a lot of questions is, do you have to use raw nuts? No. I have not done this yet, but you can use toasted oats to make oat milk. And why would you bother? So I have, and if you go to healthyslowcooking.com, I have the recipe, or you can figure it out. I toast probably like a cup of oats over medium heat. And so the trick of toasting oats, because you're not going to believe me till you do it, is that you smell the oats in the pan. You're like, okay. And then you do it for about 30 seconds and you smell it and you're like, and then all of a sudden it starts smelling like nuts. And if you haven't done it before, you're not going to believe me till you do it. And then I just grind that in a spice grinder with nutritional yeast. You can put a little pinch of lactic acid in there. And the lactic acid I use is from Druid's Grove. It's made of sugar beet, non-GMO sugar beets. And so there's nothing hinky at it for any, but just tastes kind of like citric acid, but it kind of melts and gives it this magic aged flavor. And you could use salt if you do salt, if you're on a salt-free diet. I usually recommend a plain salt substitute of 1 tablespoon garlic powder, 1 tablespoon onion powder mixed with 1 teaspoon ground celery seed. You mix all that together. Use it as you would salt on anything that you don't want to taste like Mrs. Dash lemon, or here's the Cajun blend. You know, it's like the Mexican blend. They're always blends, right? There's never anything that's just like, okay, this isn't going to compete, but like the celery has some sodium in it. And then those garlic powders and onion powders hit some of those spots in your mouth. So that's why I do it. All right. Okay, Nutter, you're going to have to work. I'm going to put a quarter.
Let me write this down.
Actually, let's do 6 teaspoons.
Tablespoon.
6 tablespoons of hazelnuts. I'm going to add the vanilla at the end because I don't want it to be compromised by the heat. And because these are not soaked, we're going to put it on like the soy milk version of this so that they can get warm. So if you don't have any soaked almonds, soaked hazelnuts or something like that and you're at home, you can always just pour hot water over them and let them sit. Or bring a pan with them and water to a boil and let them sit, just like beans, to speed up that soaking process. Okay, we want to do dates for sweetener, or do we want to keep them on sugar for a little while and just take one thing at a time?
Dates, so, interesting.
I don't, that's a good question.
Okay, we'll start with dates.
He probably needs the sugar.
Yeah, I'm sure he would prefer the sugar, but if we're gonna do it, might as well go all out.
Okay, and we can always, while it's warm, so I'm gonna probably put 1, 2, 3, these are, there's gotta be one in there, it's too hard to open, no. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm gonna put 10 in here.
That's a lot.
It is a lot, so it would be about 5 medjool dates, right?
Oh, gotcha.
So these are not as sweet. And then from seeing what I've done with some of the other stuff, I felt like this could be a little sweeter.
We're trying to replicate a not very good version, so yeah, anything better, even if it's extra sweet, would be good.
And that's, if I'm switching someone, or here's the better way to put this. If I'm helping someone switch off sugar or helping myself switch off sugar, having something that's still delightful is a really great way to start. So even if he tries this, he's like, then do half as many dates, half sugar.
We're really trying to get them off the dairy more than the sugar,
Okay.
and so anything plant-based would be fine.
And then I'm gonna add, you know what else I'm gonna do? I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of cashew.
So yes,
Yes.
it's the mouthfeel and
Let's get some extra fat.
creaminess.
I may be pushing the nutter, so it's probably better if I do this in the arc mirror because I don't want to
He's
break
putting
the
this
nutter.
in his coffee.
Yeah, as a coffee creamer in the morning.
Is it not as powerful?
Is the
I found it
there a
not
done
to
for
be.
us to be able to empty, use, and reuse?
Yeah, let's do that because it just feels, well, no, I guess,
Do it.
yeah. Let's do the
We're
other.
all about, I don't want to break stuff, but we're all about learning things.
I know, I'm just like, that just seems like I'm setting Heather up, but I'm not trying to.
Oh, we need a jar.
Oh, that smells like a beautiful latte.
Will this work?
Yeah. And this is a latte.
That's the Tocino latte in the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a latte you can have any time of the day or night. Yeah.
Yes.
And it's not even like it's decaf coffee. There's just no caffeine whatsoever. So I've gone through periods of where I'm not doing any caffeine because of my nerves. Sometimes life gets a little bit on my nerves. And I found even decaf would make me, I would feel it. My heart would race a little bit. Because the doctors do say, you know, caffeine is a drug. So should you decide to do it or not is none of my business. I want to be real clear about that too. And sometimes I will, especially if I feel like I didn't get any sleep and I know I have a really big day. But I'm just as likely to have a zero, well, actually I'm more likely now to have a 0 alcohol gin and tonic than one that has alcohol in it. But I don't freak out now about, you know, I have things that aren't so good for me. I try to like have a number on it. Like, do I have it once a week, once a month, once a quarter, or once a year? And this one's going.
Realizing that forgetting that there's more in that than the nutter. It takes a minute.
Well, and part of it's just that we just had a lot of stuff a lot of stuff in this one. But what I love too is how it's a little bit foamy. You could come in here and also use your, if you have a foamer, one of those foamer wands, you're not gonna get the same kind of good foam as this with nut milks. If you're looking for a coffee house foam, what you are going to want to use is soy milk. And if you can, obviously everybody can't eat soy, but soy milk gives you the best foam. And all you need is a cheap hand wand from Home Goods or TJ Maxx. You can get one for like $10. And I also have the Vitamix Air, AER pitcher. So it makes, like, if you see cold foam at Starbucks, that's what they're using. And they will tell you cannot make it with plant milk, and they are wrong. That's what they've been told. You can make it with soy milk
It
just
just needs to be
fine.
soy milk, not.
Yeah. And sometimes you can get a little bit of foam out of some other stuff too. Thank you for
You're welcome.
helping me not eat it crispy.
No.
Because,
I actually had somebody at Starbucks recommend soy milk to get the phone.
oh, good.
But it was a barista, it wasn't the manager.
Well, I was told one time, I'm like, no, you can't do that. And I'm like, oh, that must just be Dayton water. I was like, I didn't put any sweetener in there yet, like sugar sweetener. Okay, we're gonna put in our vanilla later, right?
I'm spilling.
And that one is the Ticino latte. And so if you go on my YouTube, I've got like a pistachio latte, and I think I made like lavender creamer, and I made 2 creamers. I made the candy bar creamer, and you can also use that as a Ninja Creamy pint base. So you can make ice cream from it. And it sounds like creamer. You think, oh, all the fat, all of this. No, it's up to you, right? You can make it as clean or as not clean as you want to. All right, here we go. And I'm just gonna go to the min line, in between. Nah, I put a lot of nuts in there. I'll go to the max line.
Apple said she worked at Starbucks a long time ago, and the baristas usually know more about making product than the managers because the baristas are the ones making the stuff.
And that's true. Well, and I think sometimes people just get worried that people are going to complain more. So again, so with this, I put a 1/4 cup of hazelnuts, 2 tablespoons of cashews, because we're working to get Elizabeth's dad creamer, like a hazelnut vanilla creamer that he likes. And so this is an experiment. I put 10 Deglet dates in there because these haven't turned out to be super sweet, but they were only $3 at Home Goods. So I'm still counting it as a win. And I'm gonna put it
I'm just have extra. Oh, we did.
on the hot cycle, which is like its soy milk cycle, just because of the hazelnuts. It's gonna bring that water up. So if we were making it in our Vitamix, we'd soak those hazelnuts, or we would bring them to a boil on the stove. And that's why we're just letting it take longer. If it was a soft nut, like cashews or pecans, we would need to do that. But everything else does well with a little bit. It's like these are slivered toasted almonds, and the candy bar creamer is those chocolate chips and dates. And so it gives you a little bit like a toasted caramel nut candy bar cream, and you can make that in the Ninja Creamy too. We'll let this guy sit. And then I keep telling you I'm gonna make you some oat milk, give you some tips. So let's, yay, it's a blender. Okay, and I'll get,
Remember one from the brother, can you?
No, yeah, lots of good ideas. Things to try. I think the recipes are on the website. So,
and you may have to assist me on this one. So I think I may have used the Blendtec before, but I'm not positive.
I just manual all the way up.
Okay.
Depends on what you're looking at. So
Try whisk.
yeah, you can do that if what are we trying to do? Blend oats.
Yeah. We don't want it to get hot.
Who else has a Blendtec out there versus a Vitamix? Everybody's a Vitamix.
But you know, Julie Hassan loves her Blendtec. Look at my cool
I like it.
Halloween. So it keeps things hot and cold. So I didn't realize she was gonna have an ice maker, so I brought some ice.
Oh, nice.
Look at that. It's really
Good.
kept it really well.
Wow,
You did good.
that's impressive.
What is that?
So it's just ice.
Ice.
So I didn't know she would have any ice. So the thing about oat milk with rolled oats is that everyone's like, it's slimy, right? So the two things that you need to not do is overblend it and get hot. 'Cause you got your Vitamix, just like I do, or your Blendtec. You're like, look, I'm fancy. It gets hot. Well, that's not helpful here. When it gets hot, that's when things get slimy. So you can add some ice to the water, which will melt and kind of keep things from heating up. The other thing is you don't need to blend the oats as much as you would the cashews. We're not losing $6 by not getting every like little piece of this rolled oat. So it's okay to, and again, what I do with my oat pulp is you can just freeze it and then you can put it in with your oatmeal. You can put it in dog puppy cookies or your people cookies and things like that. So you don't have to waste it either. But, and how many oats to milk or oats to water? I'm looking at this and seeing a milk conditioner. It just really depends on that spectrum. Am I wanting skim milk? Am I wanting whole milk? And so you can experiment with that. So I think let's go ahead and put 4 cups. It has a beautiful 4-cup measure right there for me. And I'm going to put about a cup of oats. And here's the thing. If I think that it's too oaty or too thick, I can add some more water. And the same thing, if you find that, well, that wasn't quite oaty enough, you can put it back in. You just might have to put some more water in here. And see, can you see like some of the steam I saw coming out of it where it's kind of cooking itself up? And I'm just making up, and I'm just going to put a little bit of ice in here. And I don't care if it gets a little bit waterier. This ice is, you could use ice instead of water too. Here, I'll add a little more oat in there just to kind of make up for it. Because I'm just being, woo! This is how I measure at home. That's about a 1/4 cup I added, I think. I can tell in here where the teaspoon and the tablespoon are. Okay. Make sure this is on good so I don't kill any of this.
Oat flour all over the thing. So the thought is we can just, this would be like your manual, starting it on low and then pushing it up to 10. If for
Is there a pulse? Is this the pulse?
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm going to use the pulse on the Blendtec. And if you're and see, you can feel the side and it's cold from the ice. The goal is for never to go over room temperature. Okay, the other thing we can do, so we can, to me, this is good enough. So you can see there's bigger pulp than I've had in anything else. Okay, and that's fine. I'm not looking for perfection today. Now, if I wanted it to hold together a little bit better, this is just some of that ground chia seed. So all I did was take some whole chia seeds, grind them in the coffee grinder. Now with it, so usually I use about a 1/2 teaspoon-ish. So let's put that in. We'll mix that in a little bit too.
What does it do?
It can help hold it together a little bit more. It's not a perfectionist thing. Almost all homemade milk, you're gonna have to shake up. So I do recommend from what we have, so these jars, or at least mine, where's my lid? Here. Has a little bit like this that goes on. If you shake that, it's gonna come loose. And it goes everywhere, and I've done it 1,000 times. Also, let me show you again, there's a pond milk from the beginning. So I told, this one separates more than anything, and so I want you to see this now so you don't go, oh, it's bad. No, it just separated.
Like-
It's just weird because the nut part flips to the top.
But that tastes really good.
Oh, it's pecan cream, nothing bad about that. But if you have something like this that has a lid that screws on it, that's amazing. Because you can shake it, because you want it in something you can shake it really well, because that's just the way life is going to be.
Mason jars.
Mason jars work great. There's nothing wrong with that. And you could even put your ice in here first and really get it cold, but it's still cold if you feel it. And I think it works great. So you don't have to get the chia seed in at all. Let's see what strainers we have. Okay, the strainers.
You say Amazon?
So we're having a side conversation in the room for folks that are saying mason jars are great, but they don't pour really well. Y'all saw me drip all over the floor earlier.
Oh, that's great.
So you can buy a lid for your mason jar that turns it into a sip cup or a pour or
I
whatever,
have that too.
which is
I have
really
one of
nice.
those.
Now that I can get it back screwed on.
Oh, it's all the pressure. I always feel it. Okay, so let's see. I'm just going into here and then we'll put it to something else. I can do this to put. Oh, are you taking the whole thing away? You're awesome. Okay, now this is oat milk. I didn't put any. This is plain unsweetened oat milk. I could have made it chocolate date sweetened oat milk. I could have. There's some other things too. So like my doTERRA peppermint. I could have put cocoa in there and peppermint. This is just pumpkin spice blend. Could put vanilla in it, right? This is just an extract. I've got herbs. Another great thing to do when you're feeling very rich is take that vanilla bean, cut it in half. Inside is this vanilla goodness called vanilla caviar. Scrape it out with a knife and put it in there. You will be living your best life. That is the best vanilla thing you can. If you ever eat Breyers vanilla ice cream with this flax, you're like, ooh, this is awesome. It's nothing compared to a real vanilla bean. And these are going to be coming out at Costco because they come out around Christmas time. This is not, and they last years and years and years. And you can make, so after you scrape that caviar out, then you can make your own vanilla bean extract by taking the outsides and putting it in with some bourbon or high proof, like Everclear. It's really what they use. But bourbon is really nice.
I actually made like little samples.
And oh, they're great Christmas presents because I tell you right now, I want to be on that list. Vanilla extract has gotten incredibly expensive. And so when it shows up at Costco and it's in the big bottle like this, it's not as delicious. It's not as rich as some of the others. Okay, so then we're just going to, I'm going to use my big one for this. It's the same thing. We're just,
What's the ratio?
for this one we did the equivalent of one cup of oats to 4 cups of water. But then I added some ice in there, probably another cup of ice, so I added a little more oat. Because if it gets hot, it's going to get slimy. So if you're using a high-speed blender, you're gonna wanna underblend. So if we were doing cashew milk, we wouldn't wanna see these pieces, right? That'd be